Hi, it's Rob from the Brush and Boltgun. Today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial on how to paint a Necron Ghost Flyer. So first off, we're going to use some Vallejo White. We're going to use this to edge all of these little indentations on the front of the Ghost Flyer on the length of its barrel. So you want to very carefully give each of these a little white outline. The idea here is that once you've got that white outline on, you want it to be quite a smooth white outline and quite bright, so if it goes on it's quite thin like it did on the first part that I started there, you want to go over it with a little bit more white just to give it that brightness, because what happens here is when you're painting on the Tesseract glow, the lighter it is, the more brightly it will appear to glow, and the thinner and darker it is, the less it will appear to glow. Now the good thing that I'm doing here is when you're doing these edges, you leave the bit around the sphere in the middle black, and you're going to paint the spheres in the middle white too. And the reason for this is that when you've painted them and you put the glow on there, the glow will go into the recesses around it. As it's darker, it looks like it's still faintly glowing, but not got the same glow as the brightness of the globes. Just going to work our way right the way along the barrel, doing the edges around each of these sections so you can put a nice glow on it. The edges look even better when they're off screen and you can't see them. So hopefully, there we go, back on again. So you want to do these around the edge and the end, over the top and under the barrel too, where they go. If you are doing this and you do one of the lines a bit too thick, which does happen, I think one of these happens somewhere around here, there we go, bit of a smudge there. We're going to touch it up at the end with a bit of the German grey, which is already on the top of the barrel, or if you just used it black, you can just put a little bit of black on there to cover that up, but we're going to do that once we put the glow on there. So while we carry on doing this part of the barrel, I'm going to speed up the footage. You don't really need to see the whole thing in slow time again, because you just watch the other side. Now we can move on to the next section. Looks like quite a slow process to do this, to be honest, but it really is very, very quick. Once you've done a couple of barrels, it's a lot quicker to do as well. And the effect for so little effort is really, really good. You do get that glowing barrel kind of look, which is what you want. Also doing his eyeball and a little tiny white line just underneath his eye. And that means that when we put the Tesseract glow onto the eye, it's also going to be looking as though it's illuminating, glowing, illuminating his cheekbone. So just painting in all the globes here. Skip through this while we just highlight these. If these, you want to make sure the middle of the globe is as white as it can possibly be. If you want to do a light grey around it and then put the white on top of that so that you've got light grey around it, that will also give it the effect that it's glowing in the middle more than it is at the edges. Now I'm going to start working with Tesseract glow here. So you want to put a nice amount onto each of the globes and gently go around the edges where the white outline is, and also go around the recesses around each of the globe just to get some of that Tesseract glow in there, and that will help give the impression the globes are glowing and illuminating the darkness around them. So if you're putting the glow on and it looks like it's not quite dark enough, if you put it on too thin, it just looks like a kind of bright yellow. Just get a bit more on the brush, put that back over again, to give that a bit more of a green colour. Now I'm going around the edges quite carefully like you did with the white initially. And this is just to make sure that you get the Tesseract glow on the white and not too much onto the black. You just want that to highlight the edges, give that glowing effect so the glow from the globe is hitting the edges of the black barrel. We don't want to try and smudge that onto the black too much because the light wouldn't be getting there. So also going to do a little bit on the tube here as well, since we're doing the glowing effect. So you've got his eye there. This tube down the side, I'm just going to give a good coat of Tesseract glow as well. You can see just painting that over the white how much of a glow effect it does give. It's a really, really vivid neon green colour, or neon yellow colour, depending on how the light is and how much goes on. Just going to speed this up, get to the next part while we finish off this tube. Now that we've done this, we're going to use a tiny little bit of Citadel Biel-Tan green. I'm going to use this to do some darker edges on the tube. So you want it a little bit darker towards the top and around the sides, and you want to keep a nice glowing yellow kind of line going right the way around the middle of the tube, or lengthways that should be across the middle of the tube. So we're going to use the shade at the ends of the tube and also on the top and the bottom of it. I could do this probably using white and some greys, or a slightly lighter grey, and then maybe a shade again. So when you put this Tesseract glow on, those darker areas would show as like a darker green area. I'm just using a little bit of shade just to get that on, to save layering it up first. When you're putting on this, because the shades are very thin, it may take a while for it to show up. You might put a little bit on and have to go back and do another layer. If you do, that's no problem. Also, if like at the top of the tube there, I've just managed to get some Biel-Tan green right the way across the area where I want the bright yellow stripe to be. All you need to do is, as we will do, get a tiny little bit of white, do an extra little line, where you want it to be glowing the brightest on the tube. So here we're using a tiny little bit of German grey, and we're just thinning down that area where we put too much white on before. You can also use this to straighten out any of the sections of glow which don't look straight enough to you. Okay, so to put a little bit of the highlight back on that tube, we're going to use a little bit of Vallejo White. Just use a tiny little bit and just paint it on through that slightly dark green where we want it. And finally, I'm going to use a little bit more Tesseract Glow, the technical paint from Citadel, and just do that over the white, and that will give us that nice bright glowing section down the middle of the tube, like so.
Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. Also, think about subscribing to some of our other social media linked below. Thanks very much.